everybody. My name is Regina Bryan, and welcome to the Women of Empowered Living. I am so excited to be joined today by the CEO of Lift Leadership and my new best friend, Gail Rudolph. Hey, Gail, how are you today?
Hi, Regina. It is so wonderful to be here with you today.
Oh, awesome. And you are sitting in the most beautiful part of a house or wherever you are. I'm loving that. So, where are you joining us from today?
I am actually visiting my sister today. So she has a beautiful sunroom and does some stained glass. You can probably see behind me.
It's
And we are here celebrating. My mother actually is 91 years old, and we're celebrating her life because she probably only has a few days left.
Oh, Gail, it is a celebration. That smile on your face says it all. The peace that I feel that your family's come, to terms with your mother's this being the end of her life or near the end, and what a joy that you could still join us. So thank you so much for doing that. Now we have so many things to talk about, Gail. So, like myself and many others, you are a John Maxwell team member. So talk to us about when you joined the team and then how did you find your way over here to Empowered Living?
So yes, I became a John Maxwell team member certified in only February of 2018.
Okay.
So only a couple of years. I had a friend of mine that actually saw my entrepreneurial spirit and said, you need to join the John Maxwell team. So I, of course, fell in love with John and Paul and all of you people. You're my new family. And that's really, I've become more involved down here. And as we've moved our business forward, just love working with you and the entire community.
It's a great community. So you found the John Maxwell team, and how did you make your way to Empowered Living?
Well, actually, through Paul Martinelli.
Of course.
Paul, I mean, yeah, he's the perfect connection. So I've worked with Paul a little bit, spoken with him, always seen him at the IMC conference. And actually, one of the reasons that I reached out was because he did a blog about a month or so ago about Dr. Cialdini. And I'm a Cialdini certified member or teacher trainer.
Wow. And Gail, that is the reason when I read that about you. Okay. So this intrigued me right off the bat. You are Cialdini certified. There are only 18 of you in the world certified, 3 women. Talk to us about how you came to be connected to Dr. Cialdini and walk us through that process of becoming certified. I imagine that's not easy.
It is not easy. It was probably the hardest thing I've done in my life. Actually, much harder than even my master's degree.
Oh, wow.
A few years back, or a couple years back, Dr. Cialdini was actually at IMC, and I spoke with him there. And then I contacted him afterwards about becoming certified. And what I didn't realize at the time is what a process it was going to be.
Gail, for a second, I have to just say this because I was at that IMC with Dr. Cialdini. And I was mesmerized and just even had a greater, deeper appreciation for him, having read his books. And yet you're sitting in that same IMC and you decided to seek him out and become certified.
Yeah, it was a process. There's nothing more unnerving than teaching somebody's material to them.
Oh, wow.
And he is a university professor, of course. So we had orals and comps. And then we had to pay him for he and his staff to come out and actually audit us when we actually presented the material. It was about a 9-month process, and that's about all.
Nine months.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Wow.
And I went through it quickly. I just happened to hit quickly. It normally takes longer than that. In fact, out of the 3 people that were in my class, I'm the only one now that's certified because COVID hit and they couldn't get their audit done.
Wow. So you did get through it right on time, didn't you?
Yes.
And so over that 9 months, did you have face-to-face? Were you virtual? Were you in a classroom setting? Talk to us a little bit about that.
Well, it was a little bit of all of the above, Regina. I have to catch myself because Dr. Cialdini is Bob to me now. He is such he's an amazing person. He really is. And, we spend time together on the phone, we Zoomed, but we also had to go study with him for a week. So wait
a minute, Gail, because a lot of us love Dr. Cialdini. you had this incredible opportunity to go study with him for a week.
Yes. So
Wow.
he actually, he walked us through his material. He wants to make sure that everybody that's certified, which is why I think there's only a few of us, that we can actually help the people that we're talking to on how to identify what principles of persuasion are there, and then how to use them and amplify them, and also to be ethical. He is a very ethical person and wants to make sure that his principles are used in an ethical manner.
He mentioned that several times at training about the ethical use of influence and persuasion and his techniques. So, what's one of your big insights from working with Bob and his material that you can share? I can't believe you're calling him Bob, that you can share with us, because a lot of us just absolutely fell in love with that information and want to use it in a deeper way in our own lives. So, what were some of your big takeaways from all of that?
Well, I think that there are really two of them. The first takeaway is probably that everything he does is a science. It's based on science, so it can be taught and it can be learned. But what really intrigued me about when he did this process and went through this studying, he actually went undercover. So Dr. Cialdini actually put on wigs, different clothes, took on different demeanors, and went out into the world. He studied with car salesmen's training. He went into advertising agencies to see what they were doing. He actually even went undercover in a cult to see how they actually got their members to join.
Now, that's fascinating. So,
Yeah.
Dr. Cialdini, I mean, this man who's written about influence and persuasion, he actually walked it himself. He went undercover to these different organizations and businesses and a cult.
Yes.
Okay, you got to share with us what you can about that.
Well, what he did was he gathered all this information, but that wasn't enough for him because he's a researcher. So then what he did is he went back to the laboratory and took all of the information he had, and he saw which ones scientifically could be proved. And that's how he came up with the 6 principles of persuasion. Just amazing to hear the stories and how he's just an avid learner of what we do in real life. So it's not just a science, it's actually, he lived it, he walked it. And he teaches us to walk it and breathe it too.
So what we heard at the IMC with Dr. Cialdini was just the tip of the iceberg to how this whole study of influence and persuasion works.
Yes, it really was.
Now, Gail, have you been teaching this in your own business, Lift Leadership?
I have been, yes. So we focus on, I kind of have some key areas, and one of my big key areas is empowering women. Because one thing about these principles is that they're ever present, they're always there, there's always more than one, but what happens is we as women, and I spent 25 years in executive suite, so I know, I've walked, I've lived that. We have a problem sometimes of getting our voice being heard and being able to influence in the right way, right? So it was really exciting to be able to take his material and streamline that down into helping us as women actually move forward. So,
and does that go a little bit with your book? Because when we talked, I remember you were talking about your book. Tell us a little bit about that and how that kind of overlaps or coincides with Dr. Cialdini's work.
Well, actually, my story started with John Maxwell talking to us about inside, right? And what we need to believe inside. And then when I went to study under Dr. Cialdini, what I was able to do was to take these and put kind of a woman's view to it from these 2 gentlemen that are just absolutely amazing and have a wealth of information. So I was able to take what I'd learned from them and actually look at it from a woman's point of view. And actually, I have a book that's coming out next fall of 2021, called Powering Up, Powering Down, How to Take Any Situation and Make It a Win-Win. And it is really about us being able to claim the power that's in us, to use the principles that are around us, a lot from Dr. Cialdini, and be able to create situations into a win-win.
Give us a couple of examples of some of your insights from that book, because I cannot wait to get my hands on this book.
Well, I tell you, there's a lot, but you know what I notice about women a lot of times is we make ourselves small. We come to the table and we sit with our arms crossed and we keep our booklet right here in front of us, right? We kind of small. Men will spread out. They move out, they put their arm behind the chair. So we go over some real tactical things of how we can power up in situations, or sometimes needing to power down so that you don't get egos butting against each other. So we teach you kind of how to do that in the book. One of the things, Regina, I think that we shared when we talked earlier was just about how we talk and say hello. And most of us actually say hello on the in-breath. You know, hello, it's how we answer the phone.
Oh my gosh, guilty.
Right. I do it all the time. Or we do the same thing when we talk about our prices or our ideas and we go up, we do it on the in-breath, right? But
Yes.
if we do it on the out-breath, it sounds completely different. Hello.
Okay, so teach me that. So teach us that technique, Gail.
Okay, so practice it on the in-breath. Say hello as you're breathing in.
Okay, so Gail, you're saying to say hello.
Yep, as you're breathing in, you say hello. Yep. But if you practice it and you say hello, now breathe in and say hello on the out breath.
Hello. Ah,
You notice a difference?
I can
A
feel
major difference, right? Our voice is lower, our voice is calmer. It makes a huge difference. That
actually feel the difference in that versus hello.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're saying, and the difference I noticed, like you said, say it on the out breath, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Hello.
So, and we do this all the time. I mean, everybody is guilty of doing this, but I mean, we put questions in place when we do that. So we say, you know, my fee's going to be, and we rise up with that tone of voice. So if we can get a hold of that and do it on the out breath, it makes all the difference in the world. My fee's going to be $1,000.
Okay, so we're doing this on the out breath. Okay, work with us a little bit more because I want everybody to have an opportunity. This is huge because I could feel the difference.
Uh-huh.
I was in sales and we've had different types of sales training. This isn't the first time I've heard some of this, but that made a complete difference in my mind. In my body, I could feel that shift. So give us the fee sentence again.
Okay, so if your fee's $1,000, well, my fee's going to be $1,000. You're doing it all on the in breath. But if you pause right before it, well, our fee is $1,000. It comes across completely different.
So if I take a breath and on the out breath, my fee is $1,000.
It's just the low, calm. In fact, Chris Voss, who does a lot with, he used to be an FBI hostage negotiator.
Oh, I love his books. I love him.
He says you're supposed to have a late night DJ voice, that low, slow voice, right? So we talk about, in the book, we talk a lot about how we're moving our body, how we're doing our voice, things that we can do to actually make sure that we have a voice at the table. And then if you look at the Principles of Persuasion from Dr. Cialdini, you actually can apply all these things so that you can have a voice without, you know, earning that horrible B word that we none of us want to have, right?
You know, I'm so glad that you brought that up because your work with women is so important and so powerful because I think that you just hit the nail on the head for most of us. And I can speak for myself. We don't mind being assertive. I don't mind being assertive, but you don't want to cross over to that B word. And so I think what happens is, you're right, we're sort of small and hidden. And the way we use our voice sort of shows that. It's the demonstration of us being sort of small and hidden. And this book is going to change a lot for women.
Yeah, we think that in order to power up, we have to get powerful, but we can actually change our words. We can change the way we say things, the order in which we say them. There is so much that we actually can learn and be strategic about what we're doing that can make a big difference. I mean, we can really increase our influence. What I always say is,
and our posture as well.
Absolutely. Our movements, our posture, how we approach things. And like I said, if we use Dr. Cialdini's principles, then we're looking at what is ethically influence available to us, because people actually have triggers in their brain. That's one thing that Dr. Cialdini teaches. We have, in fact, the last research I did was in 1998, we had 3,000 marketing messages come to us a day. In 1998,
And now it's exploded, of course, because there was no social media in 1998.
so now they're saying we get 5,000 things that come to us to try to influence us every day out of just marketing. And what happens in our brain is we've developed what's called triggers, and we respond differently to different triggers. For example, if you go to the grocery store, right, and you can't look at everything you're going to buy and try to figure out which one you're going to do. So we would look for that little sign that says sale or everyday low price, right? Those are triggers. But we have so many of those available to us as we work through Dr. Cialdini's principles that if we are not aware of them, we will never use them.
It's such a fascinating topic. What are you seeing in your work with women and influence and persuasion? Meaning, is this something that's, if we're committed to learning, is this something that's relatively easy for us to learn and sort of wrap our arms around?
Absolutely. It's a science, so it can be learned and it can be taught. And even what we're bringing into the book, it is all practical, hands-on information, things that you can walk away from. And in fact, I do a whole workshop on empowering women just around Dr. Cialdini's principles.
I'm so glad you brought that up. I know you have one coming up. I want to spend some time talking through this workshop and what are we going to get? How long is it? And what are the outcomes? I mean, what can I expect?
Well, basically, it is three afternoons or mornings, depending on where you live in the country or if you're overseas. It's jam-packed. It is absolutely jam-packed. So what I do in this is to teach you how to first identify the principles. All of us are usually pretty comfortable with one or two of the principles, and we probably already use them. We just don't understand why they work. Or if something doesn't work, why it doesn't work.
Ooh, that's so good, because you're right. We're already using some of this, whether we're aware of it or not.
Right.
Awesome.
So what power is there in actually being aware of what those principles are and then how to use them? So we not only teach you how to use it, we do a lot of exercise, but we teach you how to amplify them. How do you ramp them up so they have the most power that there is? So we go through all 6 principles, very in depth. And we talk about different studies that they had, the science behind them, and then we work through some real life examples. Some of them are mine that I lived. You come with examples of your own, and we work,
so we're going to come
through those
to the class. So we're going to talk about our real life examples, bring those to the table.
Absolutely.
I love how practical that is.
Well, I want you to be able, this is a passion for me. Like I said, I spent 25 years in an industry, a male-dominated industry. And I'll be honest, Regina, I didn't handle power as good as I could. I didn't understand.
Talk about that for a moment, because before you were a John Maxwell team member and a Cialdini method certified trainer, talk to us about your previous profession, just as you were saying, and looking back, how you could have done things differently had you had these techniques.
Well, I was a professional fundraiser. So you could imagine how great it would have been to understand these techniques back when I was doing fundraising full time. But what I did know is I did know that some things I tried worked and some things didn't. And I also worked, so as much as I was working with a donor, I had staff underneath me and I had senior leadership at the hospital. And even though I was very successful at it, when I look back now, I realize how much more power and how much more persuasion and influence I could have had if I had known these principles. And I'm probably like many of you. I went home frustrated and bewildered some nights.
I know, because I was in real estate sales. You were a professional fundraiser. So many people watching are coaches, are speakers, or they have different types of careers. And how awesome would it be to know these techniques, and not just know them, but to, as Gail's saying to us, amplify them, to be able to bring them out and really use them in a powerful way.
It makes such a difference. I mean, when I do some consulting with fundraisers now, and I approach things completely different, and I can teach them why some of the things they're doing doesn't work. I can teach them how to amplify things up. In fact, one company I worked with had a 212% increase in fundraising donations just by putting these principles together. So
Okay.
Dr. Cialdini says that we have about, in his research, a 300 to 400% chance of reaching a yes by using these principles. And we know everybody's happier when people are saying yes to each other. I'm happier when people say yes to me.
And even outside of our careers, just as human beings, we are always trying to influence and persuade. So even if we take the career out, sales out, we live our lives as people trying to persuade other people to our way of thinking. And so
Exactly.
you're saying this workshop is the place to be if these are the types of techniques and principles that we're really wanting to learn and embrace in our lives.
I actually, I can't watch a TV commercial now without knowing which principle is being used or which but I have to tell you, it works in such a great way. Can I share a personal story, Regina?
Oh,
My
please do.
my son actually, can I? Okay, good. My
Yes.
son, who's 24 years old and is older now, he actually graduated college and came home, and I actually have been teaching him these principles. So as he started his job, he says, my goodness, Mom, he goes, I can't believe the difference. First of all, the people I'm working with and the things that I'm doing, I can understand it more now. But he actually came home one night. Every mother wants to hear this. Mom, can you help me? I'm having a conflict with a lady at work. What do I do? And I said, like, tell me a little bit more. And she said, well, she's about your age, Mom, and she's shorter than I am. And, so my son's tall, he's got a bigger stature, and he's towering over her. But the amazing thing about it is he realized that what he was doing actually was creating this issue between them just because of his statue. And he said, Mom, how can I help persuade her? How can I help her feel comfortable in the situation? So, it's so much to learn for anybody and everybody that's around.
And it's so applicable regardless of who you are, where you live, and what you do. We are all trying to influence other people. So talk to us a little bit more about this workshop and what you have in store for us.
Well, actually, like I said, it's going to be tailored. It's a 3 afternoons or three sessions right in a row. It is tailored to actually talk about women and the things that we face.
Okay, women, are you listening? Gail has tailored a workshop especially for us. Okay, now you've got our attention, Gail.
So when you come, you'll have a workshop workbook from Dr. Cialdini. It is all his work, how to amplify it. We're going to learn studies. We're going to learn the way to actually use it and move forward. And you'll get his book, a copy of his book by PDF. But I think the most amazing thing is that this is actually something you can put on your resume. At the end of this workshop, you will receive a certificate signed by Dr. Cialdini and I saying that you have completed a course in these principles of persuasion. And I think that's very powerful.
It really is. And with the way that our world is, and with needing to be an ethical and powerful persuader and person of influence, I can't imagine anyone whose life cannot be benefited by learning these techniques and these principles.
I can guarantee you your life will never be the same.
First of all, you just hear that right here on the show. Gail is telling us that she can guarantee us our life will not be the same if we commit to showing up and getting the most out of this workshop. So give us the dates for this, Gail.
It is December 8th, 9th, and 10th. So it's coming up real soon.
It is. And we're going to tell you all in the comments and on Facebook how to access Gail and this amazing workshop. Gail, I think you've just sold me. Okay. I believe that I'm in. I think I need to go there because who couldn't benefit from this? I mean, as a coach and as a speaker, this is exactly the tools and techniques that can really be game changing. So we love to ask everybody that's here with us, and especially with what you're going through with your mom, what does an empowered life mean to you? What does that look like, living an empowered life?
An empowered life means a full life. So we hear John talk about influence, right? And leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less. I actually have taken that a little bit further and said influence is the proper use of the principles of persuasion and power. And so it's
That
an
is so good.
empowered life. It's living life on purpose, showing up on purpose to our meetings, showing up on purpose with the message that we want to have and to give to other people. And instead of fumbling through it, these principles are science and they're taught so we can actually know why they're working, which ones to use, and be strategic in our lives. And that's why I say your life will never be the same.
Oh my gosh, can you ladies watching, and I know we've got the smart group of men watching because we always get men to men in the audience, but can you imagine we could spend this time, these few hours for 3 days in a row, right, Gail, with you, learning Gail and Dr. Cialdini's work and principles and how to live that fully in our lives. Gail, anything else you want to tell us about the workshop or just how we can connect and work with you?
Well, you can reach me. I think you're going to share my company's Lift Leadership, lift-leadership.com. So you can actually get us through there, but you can work with me directly too. This is my passion. And I think one last thing I want to say is by learning these principles, not only do we live a strategic life, but we open ourselves up to learn the principles so that we're not influenced by things we don't want influenced in our lives. Like I said, we all lead busy lives and have triggers, but people use them on us too, and they use them unethically. And even though we teach them to ethically use them, I think that it also helps us to realize when they're being used on us and how to respond appropriately.
That's a great point that we didn't touch on in the time that we've been chatting today, that people use these principles on us. And Gail, another home run from you. You just said people use them on us and they do so sometimes in an unethical way. So wouldn't it be great if we knew these same principles and yet how to be a positive people in the world using these principles?
So Regina, many times in our lives, and I'm sure you've heard it too, where you've either said it or somebody said to you, would you like to hear the good news or the bad news?
Right, okay. I'm ready to cry. I don't know what to say.
Which one do you ask for? Well, actually, that's something that we talk about in the workshop and that we'll walk through because it depends on which one you deliver first, on which one you want the emphasis to be at the end.
And as a person who's heard that, people, you're right. If there's one thing all of us can relate to, we've all had someone say that to us. And usually I'm thinking, I want the bad news first so that can go away and then I can enjoy the good news.
Well, I'm going to suggest that we never say that to anybody again. And we take control of the message because people make up the message if we don't have control of it. But yes, you're right. If you want to emphasize the good news, you tell somebody the bad news first. If you need to emphasize the bad word because there's something that needs to be done, sometimes in a work situation, you tell them the good news first. So how and the order we say things makes a huge difference on our lives.
Oh my gosh, you guys just heard a beautiful practical example because we've all been there. We've all had someone say that to us. And a lot of us have probably used that ourselves and didn't know what we were doing. And sometimes it worked well and probably many times not. And so Gail has practical solutions. She has practical tips for us in the things we do day in and day out. Gail, I'm going to give you the last word on influence and persuasion and anything else you want to share with our community because it's been a joy.
Well, I don't really know what to say except that we as women need to definitely learn this and to be able to do it. There's so much going on in our world right now that if we are not people that are influencing in the proper ways, we're going to be influenced in the wrong way. So I really encourage us to actually rally together and be that light in the world.
That is a great note to end on. Gail, you have been just a beautiful soul to get to know. You are my new best friend, like it or not. And, and I know that on behalf of the entire community, we pray for your mom and your family, that this is a peaceful transition. And thank you for joining me today.
Thank you, Regina. I look forward to seeing all of you soon.
And we're going to give everybody the information to Gail's workshop. I know I'll be there, so I hope to see many of you there as well too. All that information is coming up. Thanks everybody for taking time to be with us today.
Bye-bye.